Apple might take an approach with the iPhone 16 lineup by introducing a new physical key alongside the action button seen on this year's iPhone 15 Pro. A recent report suggests that this button will serve as a controller and speculates on its design and functionality. According to sources, the button could be positioned on the side of the device, placing it conveniently under your index finger when capturing photos and videos in landscape mode. Rumors about a camera button have been circulating since September, with McRumors being one of the first to report on this feature. While McRumors initially mentioned that the button would be capacitive, simulating a press through vibration, the information claims it will be a button with capacitive capabilities. This means users can swipe left or right to control zoom and apply pressure for focusing on subjects. Both the information and McRumors suggest that this button is being tested for inclusion in all models of the iPhone 16 lineup, including both Pro versions. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has also mentioned the possibility of a camera button arriving with these phones. If the camera button gets included in the release, it will mark the arrival of a new button on the iPhone within a span of just 2 years. Last year, the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max were released with a button called the Action button, which replaced the traditional mute switch that is usually located on the left side of the device. While this button can also be programmed to take photos, its main purpose is to serve as a shortcut button for functions, and by default, it adjusts the settings on the phone. There have been reports suggesting that this Action button may transition to a feature in the year. It's worth noting that other smartphone manufacturers like Sony have included camera buttons on their Xperia devices for quite some time now. However, if Apple were to incorporate this feature into its smartphones, it would be an addition. Last year marked a milestone for Apple as they reportedly surpassed Samsung in smartphone shipments for the first time ever. Nevertheless, it's important to keep in mind that even if Apple is currently testing this feature, their plans for the iPhone 16 lineup could potentially change before they are officially announced in September. In fact, there were reports here suggesting that Apple was considering replacing not only the mechanical power and volume buttons on iPhones, but also potentially introducing capacitive alternatives for an action button, which was still just a rumor at that time. However, these plans were apparently abandoned after failing to meet Apple's standards. In addition to the 2 new buttons in the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus, it is speculated that Apple is enabling spatial video recording on the Duo. The feature is believed to result in Apple changing the orientation of the rear cameras of the iPhone 16. Meanwhile, the Apple iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max are set to get beefed up camera specs, particularly with a larger main sensor and a 48-megapixel ultra-wide camera replacing the 12-megapixel. Would you see having more buttons or keys on a smartphone a useful idea? Do you think Apple is running out of ideas each year? Share with us your thoughts in the comments section. Now, for those of you excited for the Apple iPhone 16 series, we're now going to run through the full specs, design, and the pricing for each model in the range to help you guys decide which one is right for you. For my regular viewers, you guys have seen this, so just skip to the next video. But if you're new here, then hit subscribe now, and we'll get right into it. So first up, we have the standard iPhone 16. With the standard iPhone 16, we get a 6.3-inch OLED display, but unfortunately, this is still going to be an LTPS display. The iPhone 16 is going to have a taller aspect ratio than last year, and it's going to be protected by Ceramic Shield too. We get the new Dynamic Island, which covers up the 12 megapixels selfie camera and Face ID sensors. Then on the rear, we've got a 12 megapixels primary camera and a 12 megapixels ultra-wide. It's powered by the A18 chipset, and it's likely going to come with a choice of 8 gigs of RAM and up to 512 gigs of storage. It's also powered up by a 3,450 mAh battery with 30 watts fast charging, and it's going to come with advanced 5G, Bluetooth 5.3 and Wi-Fi 6E. Now it will of course ship with iOS 18, and it's expected to launch from around $850 in September 2024. Now next up, we've got the iPhone 16 Plus. With the iPhone 16 Plus, we get a 6.9 in OLED display, and again, unfortunately, this is another LTPS display. It's got a taller aspect ratio than its predecessor, and it's protected by Ceramic Shield too. We get the new Dynamic Island, which covers up the 12 megapixels selfie cameras and Face ID sensors. Then on the rear, we've got a 12 megapixels primary camera and a 12 megapixels ultra-wide. It's powered up by the A18 Pro chipset, and it comes with 8 gigs of RAM and up to 512 gigs of storage. It's powered by a 4420 mAh battery with 30 watts fast charging, and it comes with the advanced 5G, Bluetooth 5.3 and Wi-Fi 6E. Now, of course, it ships with iOS 18, and it's expected to launch from around $950 in September 2024. Next up, we got the iPhone 16 Pro. Now the iPhone 16 Pro has a 6.3 in 120Hz LTPO OLED display. It's got a taller aspect ratio than its predecessor, and the Pro is protected by Ceramic Shield 3. We get the new Dynamic Island, which covers up the 12 megapixels selfie camera and Face ID sensors. Then on the rear, we get a 48 megapixels primary camera, a 48 megapixels ultra-wide camera, then we've got a 12 megapixels tetraprism camera with 5 times optical zoom. It's powered up by the 18 Pro chipset, and it comes with 8 gigs of RAM and up to 1 terabyte of storage, and it's also powered by a 3,450 mAh battery, and fast charging is still unknown at the moment, but we do expect some improvements, and of course it comes with the advanced 5G, Bluetooth 5.3 and Wi-Fi 7. It will of course ship with iOS 18, and it's expected to launch from around $1,100 in September 2024. Now finally, we save the best to last, the iPhone 16 Pro Max. With the iPhone 16 Pro Max, we get a 6.9-inch 120Hz LTPO OLED display. Again, like the other phones, it's got a taller aspect ratio than its predecessor, and it's protected by Ceramic Shield 3. We get the Dynamic Island, which covers up the 12 megapixels selfie cameras and Face ID sensors. Then on the rear, we've got a 48 megapixels primary camera, a 48 megapixels ultra-wide, and a 12 megapixels tetraprism camera with 5 times optical zoom. It's powered up by the 18 Pro chipset. It comes with 8 gigs of RAM and up to 1 terabyte of storage, and it's powered up by a 4,500 mAh battery. As with the 16 Pro, we don't know the fast charging at the moment, but we do expect to see some improvements. Now it comes up with the advanced 5G, Bluetooth 5.3 and Wi-Fi 7, and it will of course ship with iOS 18, and this one's expected to launch around $1,300 in September 24. So overall, the iPhone 16 series is looking like a great addition to the iPhone lineup. More things remain similar. There are still plenty of upgrades with the new hardware to power it better and brighter displays. Along with the new battery thermal technology, this should really enhance the experience and work well with the new A features. Now, of course, because of all the similarities to its predecessor, is probably not going to make anyone with an iPhone 15 rush for an upgrade, but for anyone with an older iPhone or looking to get their first iPhone, that it's going to be a great choice. Now, of course, as we approach the launch, more and more information is going to continue to come in, and I'll be sharing it as soon as it does, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing in the future.